understand that. People are napping, and so just in case you can't wake up, I'm going to start the lecture. We've got, this is going to feel like you're on an airline flight, and this is the movie. The in-flight movie is my lecture. So. So those of you and I, dinner will be served after the lecture.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling like you're on an airline flight, we've got the windows. So now this will go on. We are filming, so you can go on
filming.
And chances are, if you fall to sleep, she'll be back in a minute. And I know she was, that didn't look like a very comfortable couch, so I hope she's feeling okay. But there we are. That's probably good. You had at least like 20 minutes there or so of nap, so I think that people should be able to stay awake. Myself, since I can't fall asleep, I'm drinking plenty of coffee, so I'll be fine. And what we're going to talk today about I talked a bit in the last the lecture that you saw online. Did everybody watch the lecture? So that is the lecture. I'm not going to have a makeup of that. I don't know how they do in this university. I checked with Dr. Giamma. I told him. So there's some. I think there's some flexibility. I told him I was just going to film the lectures and put it up on YouTube. So I won't worry about a makeup. If we have any kind of, if there's any kind of makeup, it's not a makeup, but I just might have a session to talk about the final assessment. So if we have anything, that would be that. But I won't worry about it. You had the full lecture. I filmed the full lecture. So as long as, I hope you've watched that lecture. I'm going to talk a little bit about externalities. The end of I didn't complete that lecture, so I'm going to go over some of that material. Before I do that, I want to cover a couple of topics. One, I've started sending you received the first 6, my comments on the first 6 exercise questions. That looked fine. People, I think you're doing fine. The people are doing good work, and I'm going to work on getting that back to you over the next the next week, and I'll be working on that over from tomorrow. I'm going to be sending you. So we'll be the what you've been submitting to me the last several weeks. So we'll be caught up with all of the work that you've submitted before the next lecture. I'm going to have the midterm assessment after the next lecture. So you'll be responsible for the material up through what I'll have in this lecture. But I can tell you that we're going to focus on the various industrial organization types of industrial organization. I'm going to want you to understand what a monopoly is, what a natural monopoly, what a monopolistic competition, an oligopoly. So I'm going to want you to understand what those four forms of industrial organization are, and basically I'm going to give you work. I gave you some work last week to talk about that. I'm going to give you some more work this week to begin, and it's basically to begin preparing you for the kind of problems that I'm going to give you on the midterm. I can tell you that will be the focus. So this is basically to prepare you for that, to kind of build up for that. So that's what I'll want. That's what we'll be focusing on. So you'll want you to understand what the models are, how to think about these things. As I say, I've gone over the first 6 exercise questions. You've seen my comments. Basically, if I have any comment that I have, the one thing was that I wanted people to show me the calculus, and everybody misunderstood that. So that's obviously people. Since all of you did that, everyone misunderstood in the same way. So that obviously, I wasn't able to make that clear enough exactly what I wanted. I'm curious because I put up a video to help you understand what the lecture, what the exercise, the meaning of the exercise questions. If that's helpful, I'll keep on doing that. I'll just post. I'll just do a short video to explain what I'm looking for in your exercise questions. So that may be helpful for you. So I'm planning on doing that from now on. I think that'll just make it clear. One of the things, and I think a good approach that people should have, and some of you already do, is that when you have a question, that a question, what a good thing to do is to write down the definitions. If I ask you to do something, say on a natural monopoly, then I want you to write down what's a natural monopoly. If it's a monopoly, what's a monopoly? What's what do each of these things mean? And if you write them down, then that'll get your mind so that you're thinking about the problem. You can think clearly about that. So I think, and some of you already do that, and I think that's a good habit. So, and I'd like everybody to do that, just to give you that discipline. What I want to try to do, one of the things that I want to do in the class is to try to give you the discipline of approaching the problems so that you can think clearly about these. What this is you want to learn how to think clearly about how to approach these problems so that you can think clearly and correctly about that. I think all of you here are able to think clearly when you're able to put things down correctly. I think you're able to think clearly enough about these problems to be able to solve them correctly. So I don't think I'm not concerned about that, but what I'm concerned about is to make sure that you frame the problem correctly at the start so that you can keep a discipline, that discipline in order to answer the question correctly. So just to keep that in mind, and as I say, you've got my comments, and I'll be getting that work back to you. I'm also going to talk, this weekend is the Matsuri. Is everyone going to the Matsuri? You're going to be at a kebab booth, correct? Now, is anybody else having? Is everyone going to? Is anyone else going to the Matsuri? Are you planning on going to the Matsuri? You're not planning, because I really would. Are people around this weekend? Because what I'd like you to do, if you're planning on going, one of the things that I think this is a very good opportunity for you to understand what monopolistic competition is. I think it's really a very good opportunity to understand, because monopolistic, what you have at a Matsuri is monopolistic competition. And it's a very, very good case study of that. Of course, you can get that just walking down the street, but I think it's a very good opportunity just to see it at work in the environment, in this environment. So I was thinking about giving you as an assignment. I mean, if it's going to be trouble, I don't. That depends. But if people are planning on going, maybe I make it as extra credit. Maybe that's the way to do it. Because I really would like you to, and as I say, Eddie mentioned about that. I think that, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. You asked some questions, so I'll go over some of the questions that you had about that. Which again, I think it's a very, very good opportunity to learn about what monopolistic competition, see it in action. So and I'll talk a little bit more about that. What I want to start is, I want to introduce you something to you that I think is very, I just learned about this the other day, and does anybody know what Kaggle.com? Has anybody heard about this? This is a this is a data analysis website, and what this is that people get on and they download databases and analyze them. Now I know some of you are very interested in doing statistical analysis, and if you're interested in this, this is. And I think this, as I say, I just learned about this a few days ago. I looked at this, I said, well, gee, this is what I need. I'm going to do this stuff. They have competitions. They help you train. People share information. They share the code. If they're successful, the good modelers are sharing code so people can learn to learn code and how to code to solve these problems. Some of it they have cash competition. Some of it's very large amounts of money that are available if you can solve this. But it's a very good opportunity, and I'll say quite frankly, because I think some of you are very interested in doing statistical modeling. If you're have any interest in statistical modeling, this is a place to go learn it. This would to help add to your studies, or really this could become your university. I think this is a real practical day-to-day. This is where you can learn. You learn how to do code, to learn how to code, get feedback, learn to apply statistical analysis. Learn statistical analysis and actually using it in these are real world problems, and as I say, many of them, it's real competitions, real data. Some of it's, there's cash prizes. Some of these are lots of money, like multiple millions of dollars. Some of the prizes. So people are serious. These are serious. If you're seriously interested. If you think you're interested in doing data and modeling, statistical analysis, any of that, I really go to this site, and it's a great place to start learning. So if you're taking statistical analysis, any kind of statistical analysis, you'll want to be. This is where you can learn to use this in the real world, right here. And as I say, it looks like a kind of site where you can get feedback. You can get, you can learn a lot of, and what they have like competitions, they give points, and the people who are at the top of these boards get very good job offers. There's jobs, it's a whole, and there's jobs here in Tokyo. There's jobs in Tokyo that are available that are on this site. Where they're looking for people here. So this is something very, I think for many of you most of you sitting in this room, this is something that I think will be very, very interesting for you. If anything, you might find out that you're spending more time on this than on the rest of your classes, because this is the real world. This is where it's really about learning. Now, one of the things about that's right. Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is, I just looked at it, I said, goodness, this is...
And this seemed very useful.
It's fantastic. You know, I looked at this, it's fantastic. I didn't know about this. My wife actually read something, and she says, you got to check this out. So I did, and I said, boy, I wish I discovered this, 5 years ago. Better late than never. And one of the things about this is that's helped me to do, because I've been using Excel, and to do a lot of statistical analysis, and I've realized that, well, I've got to learn Python. Does anybody know Python? Do you know? You know? Oh, great. Okay. So you don't want to know Python? I've got to learn it. I've got to learn it. So I mean, it's I'm starting to do. It's obviously it's not that hard.
I have good videos to share for teaching Python.
Oh, you teach Python?
No. I learned from the YouTube Python video.
Oh, okay.
Very good teachers.
Yeah. Well, this is. Have you seen this Python tutorial for beginners? Have you seen this one? This is 10 hours This is a 10-hour video, and he goes through. You got this. So I'm listening to this guy. And he goes through it. It's 10 hours. So I mean, it's like, and there's other video, but this is 10 hours of instruction. But the thing is, so do you know how old this is like 2 years old? But how old this person, about 2.5 years ago, that he started taping this. So the person who did this, I'm listening to this. This person is 14 years old.
Really?
He's filming this 14 years old, and he's excellent. He's a great teacher. He's great. He's very paid. Goes through very slowly. Clearly, clear explanation. Everything is online. He's 14 years old. I'm thinking, here I am. I'm 61 years old, and I'm sitting learning. I'm sitting like learning from a 14-year-old. And I'm thinking, this is really great. I mean, this is like wow. So some of you already you know a lot more than me about this. I'm looking at I do a lot of coding. One of the things I've done, I just wrote a program to play a poker playing program. And it works, I've got like nine players, and I can, play, to play, and analyze poker. So I got the program, it works, but I can only play like 3,000 hands a minute. And that may sound like a lot, but 3,000 hands is nothing. It's like if you're going to do serious analysis, and I realized it's just too slow. I've got to learn, if I'm going to do serious analysis, so with this Kaggle, and then I said, well, and writing this poker program, I said, well, if I'm going to get serious, I got to learn this. So that's what I'm spending. Now I'm starting to spend a lot of time doing this, and and so that's what I'm spending my time doing. So yeah, obviously some of you are already working on this. If you haven't, that's I'd say this guy's he's apparently 17 now. And but I'm saying here, I'm sitting up at 5 o'clock this morning, watching this video, to learn how, I'm 60. I'm from a 14-year-old, so this is it. This guy this young person is that good, and as I say, I'm familiar with it because I'm used to coding. It's just I have to learn this kind of code. But at any rate, that's it. Just these are important things to learn. Great to see people are doing that. You're already learning Python, then get on Kaggle, and that's going to be, I think you'll find for some if not most of you in this room now, I think you're going to find that'll become one of the most important parts of your education now. I think it'll become part of your education. So if you do, well, tell me your handle and we can follow each other, and see how everybody develops. Because I'm really interested in that. Now, I wanted to talk also about, in terms of the upcoming Matsuri, and as I say, Eddie had, one of the questions that she had was, and I said about that your demand, that the demand is, the demand for, say, food is inelastic. And you were saying, you said, well, the prices are all the same. Prices are kind of the same, so doesn't that mean that the demand is quite elastic? Doesn't that indicate the demand is quite elastic? Well, here's a very interesting point. Let's say, the way to think about this is that if somebody is going, and I know myself, if I go to a Matsuri, I'm thinking about eating. That's one of the things I'm going to do there is eat. That's why, it's kind of closed here. That's what you do. It's one of the important things to eat. Of course, drink, people drink, eat and drink and drink and drink. But, and it's a big party. It's a big party. So people are going there with the intention of eating and drinking. That's it. That's what they're going there for. So if you're going to a place like that with that intention, this is your demand. The individual demand curve for food, for example, is inelastic. It's perfectly inelastic. You're going to consume that much. You're going to buy it. You're there to spend the money. You know, you're going to spend, so it's, for overall food, all food is inelastic, because you're there to, you're going to have a budget, and, you know, within the budget, it's pretty much, but it's pretty much straight up. It's quite, your demand is quite inelastic. Not perfectly. This is a bit of an exaggeration, you know, maybe something like that, but it's quite straight up and down. You know, so you have fairly inelastic demand for total food demand, but for each product, and depending upon the number of products, the demand is elastic for any given product. So these are possible. Let's say that if you show up, and this could be some individual, let's say their demand for kebab this is their demand curve, curve for kebab, and the demand for yakitori, and the demand for a nikuman. You know, so these are the different, and you may get a sense as to how you're going to price, you know, and maybe one unit. And somebody might, in this, if it's one unit, they're willing to pay maybe nihyaku, for example, and they're willing to pay about 400 for a yakitori and maybe a little bit more for a kebab. So that's how you would want to think about the individual for each one of these. Each one of these is going to have a much more elastic demand curve for each individual product, and but the important point here is that it's the individual as a downward sloping demand curve. As a seller, for example, you as a seller, you have market power. You do have market power because you are facing downward sloping demand curves. It's not, you don't have this. So even though the prices are similar, there's different ways that it could be portioned. There's different ways that you can compete in that environment, and so you really are facing a downward sloping demand curve. So that's Eddie had that question. It's like how to think about that. And as I say, I think it's a really great example. I'm going to give it as an extra credit, so you certainly should have an incentive. You're going to be there, so I think the thing is what I want people to do, as I say, it's going to be, I'll make it some kind of extra credit assignment, is to go look and look at the different products, to look at the products, the prices, to see what kind of strategies that people are having, what kind of, you know, how people are differentiating the food that's sold in each booth, so you can see and you're going to be competing with them, so you're going to want to see that. You're going to want to know how, you know, so that's going to be for you. That's really going to be a good experience. But what I want you to see is how do the different products, what do they do to separate themselves? Because that's what it is. That's what competitive monopoly is. There is overall it's monopoly. You know, you have overall fairly inelastic demand overall because people are going there. They intend to spend money, so that means that the demand is relatively quite inelastic. They're there to spend money. But for each individual product, the demand is much more elastic, but there's also downward sloping demand curve. So that each of the individual sellers faces a market of downward sloping demand, which means they